Welcome, episode 9, Brothers Contracting. Welcome back again. Today we are jumping in with a guest. We've got Jakob with Nothing Negative here. Really exciting for us, our first guest, obviously, and he's the guy who helps us to make this show. He makes the show, and so today we've got an interesting topic, which is building a strong brand for your business. And considering Jakob is the guy who is working diligently day after day, helping us build our brand, that's why we've got him here as a guest to help us talk about that topic. And of course, Corey Fishman, Chad Fishman, as usual. And so I think we're just going to jump right in.
Yeah, on this, this is going to really be a construction-based marketing strategy because that's what he's come in to do with us over time. In terms of us finding somebody, I'll start with that because it was kind of tough, in this area in South Florida. It's hard to find creative influencer people. It's just not a big market for that. You see a lot more of that in like New York and even Miami maybe, and LA. But finding somebody that gets it, that understands brand awareness, that understands the consistency needed in branding, was really tough to hone in on, and luckily we came across Jake, and it's been awesome since, and it's kind of been a really interesting learning experience together. Everything's kind of been a test, and we've tried things out and then fixed it a little bit and tweaked it, and I think we have a really good system going.
Yeah, it's interesting. Actually, a few years ago, we were having an event here at our shop, at our showroom, and we were having a party, and we were looking around for musicians, and Jakob is actually also a musician, and his name is one of the names we were given. And at the time, I think he was a little busy for the date that we had for our party, so we had another individual come in who knows Jakob very well also. And then when we started talking to that musician, that was Kevin O, I believe, and we were talking to him about, wanting to put more video content together, and also spoke to another friend of ours, Curtis Lopez, who's our photographer at this point in time, and Jakob also knows him, and everyone kind of started pointing us right towards Jakob and Nothing Negative and letting us know, hey, he does this type of work. You should reach out to him. And so that's kind of how that all fell into place. And then so we give him a call, and right off the bat, honestly, it was kind of like, let's just jump in and start. And it was pretty interesting. Right off the bat, the first couple videos we made together was everyone kind of getting a feel for the whole process, because it is a bit of a process. Somebody who's a creative, a content creator who's working with a company like ours, they need to understand who we are, and that was kind of, when you're just starting off, it's like, okay, what do you guys do again? And okay, we'll shoot a video on something and we'll see how it goes. And
well, that's a good point on that. Jake, what do you feel like when you're starting with a new company? Where do you see, what are you looking for when you're looking for, what you need to do for them, in terms of whether it's social media platforms or whatever? When you're in discussions with somebody, I know you do stuff from real estate agents to construction to food, restaurant stuff. What are you looking for, in your terms of like questions that you're looking to ask them?
I try to get like an understanding of just some sort of foundation of the culture, the heart of really like the why of the business too. So the fact when you guys reached out to me, right, we already kind of had like a very mutual pool of people. And just from my understanding too of just kind of being in the area of what you guys exactly wanted to do. And then also, Corey, your knowledge of just everything tech and video related, just talking on the phone, was a little bit intimidated too, because I was just like, man, this guy really knows this stuff. So I cannot be cutting corners around here. But it was, even going back to what you said earlier, it's been such a great opportunity for us to kind of grow and learn together too. So really when I'm working with somebody new, I try to understand as much as possible of what's really rooted inside of the brand and the company, and then kind of just build up from there. So just a really rock solid foundation.
Right. Yeah. I think too, on that point, you've had, your father's in construction. So you've had some like history in terms of working some construction sites and stuff. So there was a little bit of an understanding of the woes and the good parts and all that with construction work. And this seemed to be an interesting maneuver, because a lot of the stuff I know you were doing before was a lot of food industry, and so you're taking pictures
of food,
of
music, entertainment. Yeah, it wasn't just construction or just outdoor kitchens. Particularly.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's different. So it's like for us, it was like, how can you come in here and make this sexy? You know, how do you make, you know, construction look good or kind of fun and entertaining? And I think there's been a lot of ideas that have bounced off and just kind of iterative changes we've made over time.
Well, even at that time when we first started, it was like right around COVID issues. When I mean, there was like I look at like COVID, it was like 3 stages where no one really had any idea what was going on. I mean, honestly, I still don't know what's going on. But and then there's like that middle age where things were kind of
getting a little
better, but there's still more conversations to be had. So, I mean, even with every industry and business that was being affected so differently, I think like one of our first things we did was like when we just kind of all sat down, talked, and I'm like, and you guys were kind of talking about just like how the industry has changed and how you guys have gotten so busy, but also like it's been difficult to be communicating with certain suppliers and getting grills and certain things as well. So I'm like, this is a message that really needs to be out.
Right. Yeah. Let's do a market update was that first concept.
Yeah. And then also just the back of my head, I'm like, this would be a nice way to kind of ease into it. So for people who are not used to sitting in front of camera and speaking so well.
Yep.
But you guys
certainly weren't.
Yeah. And now look at you. Now I'm the one that's fumbling over my words.
For anybody out there who's who has a business and wanting to start producing content, and you're going to be the person getting in front of the camera, it definitely takes some getting used to.
Just start doing it, though. That's the only way
you do it, you get into it, you just do it a few times, and you get really comfortable. I mean, there were definitely a few of our first videos, Chad and I couldn't stop laughing sometimes. We just...
Oh, yeah, we got the major giggles for sure.
And it would be like 30 minutes of just wasted time where Jacob was just standing there like, get it out, guys. No. Yeah, do what you got to do. Yeah.
But we're
trying to get through a shoot.
But me coming into it, like, I know you guys are brothers, and this is just like the authenticity that I like too, and it kind of creates a comfortable environment as well. Because I mean, even
it's not
like
stark.
No, exactly. I mean, even just going back to like what you guys have talked about, just like the customer experience, and then also just having a business presence too. I mean, me playing that into my part as well. I mean, I could just be like, all right, guys, we're running out of time.
Right.
Quit the giggles and get going sort of thing. But I mean,
next meeting.
Yeah.
No, that's true. You know, it's been comfortable on both sides, I think.
No, it's definitely been a really good fit, which I think is also, kind of an important factor. If you're going to be working with somebody for consistent content, through potentially years of creating content, because honestly, the way that I view content and branding for a business, it is a never-ending process. You don't want to just stop and say, okay, we put out 10 videos, we're good to go. That's kind of not how this actually works, really.
Well, it's like you say all the time, Coca-Cola they still advertise.
They still advertise.
Do they need
like
to?
Everybody on the planet knows what Coca-Cola is and knows the brand, but they still advertise because you have to. As a business, if you want to stay relevant, if you want to stay out in front of people, you have to keep doing it. And so I think it's really important to be comfortable with whoever you are creating that content with, to have a good kind of rapport there, and a good understanding of each other as well, and each other's specialties. On that point, Jacob, I know that you mentioned that when you came into it, you were speaking to me, and I have a lot of hobbies, I have a lot of interests, and prior to bringing you in, I was kind of looking into starting to create content myself until I realized, like, I do not have the time for this. I cannot film, set up, rig it all up, tear it all down, edit everything. I just didn't have the time. But I was really interested in the actual topic, in the equipment, in how you set up shots, all that kind of stuff. I had done a ton of research, and so I did know a lot there. But which is why together we worked together to create the vision and kind of. I gave you a lot of feedback on every video, those first few videos we did, to kind of let you know the direction that I wanted to go with things and things that I wanted to see tweaked, which I'm sure is a very helpful scenario. But I've heard back from you numerous times about that is definitely far from typical type of client that you're working with. And so how do you manage that when you're starting to work with a company that, they're saying, hey, we want to create content. We just don't know anything about it. And I know you've told me that there's some struggles there sometimes about people not understanding that you need to be very consistent, or people not understanding how video shoots work and stuff like that. So tell us a little bit about how you kind of manage that scenario.
Yeah. So, I mean, especially with you, since you kind of, I mean, you both really had an understanding of just the way the world was kind of turning with COVID, how everyone is really pushing to this digital presence too. So the importance and the value of that too, and really to understand that is what's represented on that. It's just the words that are being said. I mean, just the Google reviews and stuff like that, but also the content and the visual and stuff. So when I'm working with a new client and they just say something as broad as, hey, we would like content. What does that look like? So we started kind of like asking little questions and then kind of breaking it down a little bit too. And I just really look at what the company is, what their relationship is to like their general public or the consumer, and how I can kind of fill that void, because that's kind of what I tell people at the end of the day. I'm the bridge between you and the general public, whatever that is. However you're trying to get there, I'm trying to just put you there through a creative venture and a creative eye. So let's just take like a restaurant for an example. Let's just take like any sort of taco shop that they reach out, they want content.
Jakob Takos.
Yeah. Hey, there we go. There we go. I have not heard that one before.
Yeah, I think they're going to open a taco shack soon, huh?
I'm not going to give all my ideas away today, but.
So let's say, branding the wrong thing.
Let's just take like a taco shop, for example, and they just say, hey, we want content. So you're looking at their page, and if they have completely nothing, like a blank canvas, it's almost like a blessing and a curse to start with too, because you kind of get a feel for them. If they're super open and they see the work that I've done, they're really trusting and maybe have some referrals. And that's the thing about creative freedom and trust. It's earned. It's not just given. Sort of thing. So if it's a blank canvas, or maybe they have something going on too, and they have a little bit of a direction, and then I have some ideas of like how we can kind of go this way or that way, and shooting the menu, doing something really cool and exciting, understanding what the social media climate is as well, and how we can kind of like play into that, but still being authentic. So even relating to you guys, I'm not sitting here trying to make you social media stars, because I mean, we've even stopped this podcast twice because you've had business and a phone call and real duties sort of thing.
Yep.
So I'm not trying to have you guys do some TikToks and stuff too. So I'm trying to see your the understanding of the business and your clients. So typically older people are going to want a outdoor kitchen or an outdoor remodel. So that demographic's going to be a little bit more on Facebook. Right. And now kind of Instagram too. I'm not going to put all my eggs into the TikTok.
You're not looking for a 14-year-old TikTok fan crowd. Yeah.
But I mean,
and actually can't even hit universities anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah, right. But I mean, given the way SEO works, algorithms, and just brand awareness and being everywhere, we're still going to utilize all those platforms as well, but really cater it to the culture of fishermen.
Well, and I think too, on our end of things, like I think having the right expectations has been important too for us. Like, it's never been, oh man, you better get us, 1 million followers. Like, we're not trying to make money on that, and we never have, thought about that as a venture, and we probably never will. And that's fine, but for us, it has been more about having consistency, having that content out there that we can send somebody a clip, for us, like how to ignite your grill, or how pavers are different than, in certain materials. And it's been really good for informative information for our clients. And it's also been good for us to just continuously have content out there, because it's an alive business. It's not this thing that's in and out.
It's definitely I found really important to have the expectations of and to understand what your expectations should be in regards to this type of content and branding and marketing. For instance, even this podcast, we've at this point in time today, I believe we've just launched the third episode, and so it's been interesting, because when we started recording these podcasts, the discussion with you, you started letting us know, like, okay, but the podcast, we could do that. It'd be really neat. You kind of eased us into the whole podcast thing, and one of the things you said is, I'll be filming it too, and we can then basically piece apart the content that we're filming and just take little excerpts and start posting those as individual pieces of content, rather than just the full video, which we'll post the full video as well. However, the fact that, what we understood right off the bat was, okay, it's pretty comfortable for Chad and I and for individuals to have this type of conversation. compared to trying to have a scripted video that we're producing. It's way, way more freeform and flowy and comfortable to do this. So not terribly hard comparatively. And at the same time, we know that Google, the algorithms pick up lots and lots of consistent content. And so being able to make one video and put, 10 individual clips online from that one video of one podcast is very helpful, rather than just filming a 10-minute video on a grill or a countertop material or something like that, and maybe having an extra clip or two to post from that. And so we knew that that's what we were doing this for, is to kind of just have easy, free-flow conversation about these topics that we know a lot about and we can talk easily about, but also to get these little individual clips put together. Never did we think, we're going to be stars. We're going to be, we're going to be podcast stars. We don't think that. We didn't think that. We don't ever expect that. But yesterday you were actually reading to us a bunch of, data on a bunch of people listening to the podcast, the first two episodes already, and we're just sitting here like, for real? Like, okay, wow.
Yeah,
this
each short
is interesting.
Each short and clip is doing better and better, because exactly what you said, how algorithms pick up on consistency. And they like consistency too. And also just from like the consumer looking in, think about how fast everybody's just swiping through, just like the endless scroll. And if someone is just kind of seeing something a certain way, but done a little bit differently, and also kind of following some sort of like aesthetic branding, that nice color palette, something that's kind of a little bit every 2 seconds, but not the same, that's just done through the same CapCut caption that is done with every other entrepreneur, real estate sort of agent. But that's, even with the podcast space too, it's such a sustainable piece of content to be created as well, that it can be carried on. But like I said before, it's just adding to the brand awareness of what you guys are already doing and stuff. And that's the thing. I'm not trying to change anything from you guys. I'm just trying to capture what's already here through a creative eye.
Right. And like that, speaking on that, your whole thing has been, where do you start? And like that before, you've mentioned that really you're starting at what's the target audience. So how do you find that target audience when you're working in a creative environment with a new company? What are you looking for, and how are you honing in on that specific group of demographic or whatever it is?
It's tough, because sometimes I'm just like, I'll throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. Sometimes I'm just thinking what's going on with the month or the season or the current climate of that business too, where they're like, hey, we just need to get people in the door.
Right.
So if we're working in the food industry, maybe we can do some sort of fun drink sale, or maybe we can just do like a girls' night out sort of thing, and really just kind of give like this FOMO captured content, because a
call to action.
A call to action. Because I remember even having a meeting with somebody, and they're talking about they do great food work for a business, and I kind of mentioned that their online presence isn't consistent, and it's a little bit lacking in that sense too, and it's a little bit all over the place aesthetically as well. So how everyone's just eating with their eyes at this point and looking, well, yeah, I'm familiar with this restaurant, but that new restaurant just opened up down the street, and it looks like all my friends are there, or people that I don't even know, but look like they're having a good time. And this was posted an hour ago. And right before that was yesterday, of like a new sort of sale that they're having. So that's kind of catching my eye a little bit.
Well, too, and like that, even kind of just the social media presence and world is so... It's so incredible. I even think about just in general, like South Florida, Jupiter, Florida in particular, the growth that we've seen even growing up here, all of us, has been tremendous.
Depressing? Oh.
Yeah, it is. It's sad in a lot of ways, but growth is the only way things go, and that's understandable. But I think you've seen just not just because of COVID, because even pre-COVID, there was massive growth and influx of people coming in, and it's because of the internet. It's because people can now literally walk streets from Google Maps and see exactly what that place is like, exactly from Google Map view, what the color of the water is in Jupiter Inlet, and say, wow, that doesn't look the same here in in Connecticut. And I think that the interconnectivity of the world beyond that is like Instagram, social media. They see their friends, they tag a location, they say, I'm at Lucky Shuck, hashtag Jupiter FL. And I think that ability to see that and notice that presence like that, you're saying, oh, my friends are over at the new restaurant that's exactly the same kind of food. Well, hey, it's because they're seeing it, and it's like one person posts, but 5,000 may see that post and feel like, well, I got to go to Jupiter. That's the spot to be. Look at that lighthouse. Look at the golfers that live there. And that kind of ability to understand that that's how branding is happening now, and it can happen rapidly, is crucial to like that, knowing who your customer is.
And relating that to business, that's why just trying to keep the authenticity there as much as possible. Because being a musician, I remember being younger, listening to an album that I really like, and then seeing something live, I'm like, that does not sound like as good as the live album, or even flipped, where I'm like, the live version is way better than the album. So I try to think of that way with a business too. Sometimes when I'm working with food clients and they'll try to spruce up certain things, make it really nice and add a little bit more. And I'll ask, like, is this how the customer is going to get it? And sometimes they say, no, it's just for the photo. I'm like, okay, let's do this for just kind of like that eye-catchy sort of fun stuff. But then let's
have real photos.
Yeah, let's have a real photo, because we're going to advertise this. And if I come in and pay money and I get something that's like half the portion of this, it's going to raise some questions.
Oh, for sure. And that's even like, in general, the idea that you're going to be posting photos that are fake or real. So many companies, historically speaking, would just use stock photos and like overlay words on it. It's just like, that's not real. Like,
I just did that for a client. We just redid all of their stock photos for their website, because they're like, we needed something that's actually us, or actually people that we know, or actually that's some sort of like relation. And I brought that up too. I'm like, you guys are a family-owned business based here in Jupiter, so let's try to like actually have that just transparency. If someone's going to look like that's a stock photo, I'm not working with these people on their website. That maybe that's not a client you exactly want, but from my little goggles that I wear sometimes to look, and I'm like, any little thing that we can change to really make it just nice and flowing.
Authenticity is huge. And that's like, it's like, even like in, insurance world, do you ever see anybody with, not having a stock photo of a guy with a pad and paper on the main page of, it's the same thing with the suit and tie. And it's like, oh, that's exactly who you're going to be speaking to at that insurance agency. Never the case is that the situation. And I think that we've kind of, seen that certain companies that come out with different materials that are even things like, I've seen you, Jake, do pictures of inside a restaurant, and it's just like the live picture of like people walking up to the counter. That feels real. It's not something that is outside of, it's a stage photo and that's all it is. It's just one stage photo. And I think consistently putting that kind of stuff out there, even basic stuff for companies to be able to do internally, take pictures and upload stuff, Insta videos, that consistency just makes you feel like, oh yeah, you know what? I didn't think I needed that food right now. That sandwich looks really good. I'm going to run over there.
And when talking about content too, I think about it this way: when I'm creating content or doing the media management side of things, I always try to think like having a why, like what's kind of the purpose, having some rhyme or reason for what you're doing. Because how I even fell into this business was by total accident, really. People would always come up to me and say like, hey, I like the way you represent your band online. Can you help me with my business? And they would always use the word represent. And I'm like, that's interesting. I'm like, hey, yeah, I can post a few photos for you on social media. I got lucky with a couple pages. I've spoken at a media conference, so I had a little bit of an understanding of that climate, of what it was. It's changed so much now every day. But when they would send me these photos, there was no real relation to the business, what was going on during the day, or the photos were just so bad too. And that's where I started clicking. I'm like, I should pick up the camera, and instead of hiring a photographer who don't really know the culture of this business, or maybe I need to get them up to speed. And I had such a particular vision in my head. But when I'm creating content, I try to break it down into like 3 little content pillars. I think about it this way. Maybe I subconsciously heard this from a podcast and just like kind of reformed it in my brain, but I kind of put it on my cracked phone. I got it right here. But when I'm thinking about the content pillars, one thing is like brand awareness. If this piece of content is like hitting visibility, sparking candid thinking to inspire conscious, impulsive decisions, what is the brand trying to convey? And when I say inspire conscious, impulsive decisions, when someone is scrolling through Instagram and they see Corey talking about just barbecue grills, and it's like, wow, this guy really knows what he's talking about too. I'm going to pick up the phone right now and just call him and ask, because he's so inviting and I didn't even have to think about it, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's huge.
And then another thing I do is like a call to action where it's like generate a response or encourage authentic connection to ask or to tell sort of thing. So you want to kind of bring people together and just
ask questions.
Yeah.
And because that opens up the curiosity that could lead to a sale or something else in the future.
Yeah, and you're also creating that foundation and trust too, just to build off of as well. And then the third one is just pass along value, shareable to new, exciting audience, and how to kind of keep this going. So even if something like this with you guys, I mean, the clip that we just shared today on Brothers Contracting was that segment where you're kind of talking about like a pen. Where it's like if you can't find, like if you go to a doctor's office and sometimes they're missing a pen, just put the pen on the chain. But then also that kind of raises questions too, where they can't even get this right. So what other little monotonous things are going on behind the scenes? And I know that is kind of a stretch to some degrees, but also when you're in the field of business and working with people, these are things that you just can't put your head in the sand and avoid. It's just things that just stick out to you so much. So I always try to kind of think of brand awareness, call to action, passing along value if I'm putting out or creating a piece of content that is either touching all three or at least one of them.
Yeah, and I know that what you mentioned earlier too is, trying to figure out exactly what a business is trying to achieve too. And you said like a taco shop, they're just trying to get people in the door perhaps. And that's because that's how a taco shop stays alive. If somebody walks in, they're there to buy tacos. Versus a business like ours, where one of the things we actually consciously told you at one point in time was we don't want people just coming here to walk in the door.
Yeah, we used to be an open showroom.
We used to be an open showroom, but we just it was
we were
like
so inundated. You're spending hours with people that really weren't looking to buy anything necessarily. They were just browsing.
Yeah, just browsing. They're here to ask us questions and get information, which. So for us, what we decided was, okay, look, let's have very directed goals in terms of we're going to bring clients in for personalized meetings by appointment only after speaking to them a little bit about their projects so that we at least know that they're serious. They know that they're serious. We both feel like we can work together. But at the same time, we have so many people that were just coming and utilizing us for information. So why not just put that information out there? And so in terms of creating content, a lot of the content that we've created was content just so that we could avoid people coming here. We could just provide that data that people are looking for. If you want to know anything about a bunch of different barbecue grill brands, there's videos online that we produced. It's out there. Countertop materials, siding materials, outdoor kitchens in general, the state of the affairs of the market, patio spaces. We've put videos of all this stuff together in order to be able to share that content quickly and easily for people who are just looking for that kind of information from us. We still want to be open and welcoming to just about anybody. And if somebody maybe isn't going to be purchasing something from us, that doesn't mean I don't want to help them because they might have a friend who needs our services. So we've decided consciously to put together a lot of content that was really geared towards that, which is a totally different goal than a taco shop.
And that's what my approach is really when working with a client, brand, or person. It's what are they trying to achieve, but also understanding that they have their own business that they're running at the end of the day. So how can I take a little bit of that stress or a little bit of those ideas out of their brain so that way they can be freed up so they can actually really focus. But again, I mean, teamwork makes the dream work, as corny as that is. So, and I want to get an understanding of what the client, the brand is trying to achieve and how we can work that together, because I love collaborative work. It's great. So it's like, what are you guys trying to do with this? Oh, maybe we could say something like this. Or what if we like do like a slider for like camera A, then do this and that. I'm like, I love those ideas. And that's the thing. There's never an opportunity to stop learning through any sort of field. And I've learned so much just through working with you guys and just sitting in the back, listening to certain stuff. And I'm just shaking my head. I'm like, damn, that's so true.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because like for us, I think it's been a little bit of a different experience for you than maybe majority of scenarios where you're going in as a new marketing person or, creative content person, because Corey and I are like very open and discuss this stuff and think about it rapidly and always, at night we're just stewing on these things and we'll come back to you and say, oh, we think this, and this. And then you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that actually works. And we drive together well. I was listening to a interview with Jeremy Strong, who was actor in Succession on HBO. Kendall is his character on the show. And he was doing an interview with Stephen Colbert, and he was talking about how this new movie that he just came out with, or maybe a few months ago, I can't remember, how he played the role of the father or the grandfather in this, and the guy's a bit older these days, and he said the guy's, he doesn't open up about anything. So how do you get yourself into that character? How do you learn who that person is? A lot of people like DiCaprio when he did what's the movie with all the money?
I'm trying to think.
Oh
too.
my gosh,
man,
where he's on the yacht and
Godfather.
No. When it was
Wolf of Wall Street.
Wolf of Wall Street. Jeez, he actually spent months with the actual character of Wolf of Wall Street and had luncheons and stuff like that just to listen to him, catch his mannerisms, all that kind of stuff. But Jeremy Strong was talking about how he did this personality, questionnaire, which kind of draws out a lot of things that you never think about. How do you do it when you're going into more of a cold environment or a stark environment? With somebody that says, I just want content. I don't know, and it's not.
Oh, I try to hop on even recently, I got a new email that kind of came in, and I could either just answer all their questions through the email or really kind of schedule my time and sell this is a creative business, so have a little bit more personality into it. So I'm like, let's hop on the phone, kind of talk and get a little bit more of an understanding. So that way I kind of let them talk, feel their comfortability as well. And then get that understanding of where they lie, where I can kind of either joke around or maybe even stretch some out of the box ideas to see if they'll stick to it. And then also as I'm doing that, I'm kind of seeing all their social medias online. I mean, everything's on the internet now. So I'm seeing what they like to post, what's catching their eye too as well, and how much involvement they want to have in some sort of the process as well.
Right. Well, to kind of elaborate on that question, though, what are some of the common misconceptions that you see from potentially new clients that you're working with? Or what are some of the things that people, when you're talking to them on that initial meeting and trying to feel out what they're looking for and all that, what are some of the things that they just clearly had absolutely no understanding of in terms of what this industry is about, what branding is about? What are some of the odder things that you've heard? What's some of the feedback that you get right off the bat?
Because obviously, any names.
Without any names, but obviously, you don't sell every potential business that reaches out to you on your services, and some of them probably should really be utilizing your services, but just don't even understand truly what the value is. I'm sure that some people are asking you, can you just come and make a video for me, thinking that a video solves their branding problems, and so what is some of that you hear from some companies that you try and work with? What is some of the feedback that you'd give to those people?
Well, one is kind of even going back to what you said was they'll reach out to me, and if they want media management and they're yeah, you can create some content too or whatever, maybe we'll just do 4 photos. That's all I need. I just need 4 photos. So not really understanding that the consistency is really the key. That's why I always kind of say the 3 C's: create consistent content. And if you can kind of understand what content, the consistency, and how to create it and how they all kind of intertwine with each other, that will be the driving force and the gasoline for your online presence. But then even really what you touched on was the whole follower count. I mean, early on, I remember people reaching out to me saying, can you get me 100,000 followers by the end of the year? And I'm like, I can get you that right now. Give me your credit card. We could buy them.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
But I mean, but that was the thing. When I spoke at a media conference 5 years ago about the panel I was on was how to grow followers. And I kind of said, that's not what you want to do,
and that's not your goal,
and that should not be your goal.
It should be an end result of good content,
unless you're trying to be an influencer.
But instead of growing followers, I would say you would rather want to create an audience,
right?
Because an audience that you can kind of interact with, instead of people that are blindly following you. If you're going to go there, they're just going to follow you for no reason or whatnot. You're not really kind of creating a culture that's going to be sustainable.
If that were the case, we'd probably have girls in bikinis posted on every one of our posts.
Sex sells, baby.
That's the reality. By the way, we also sell grills and patios.
Yeah. But besides that, then also it's not whatever the expression is, not a sprint. It's a walk.
Marathon.
Yeah, exactly.
There it is.
So
it's a really slow snail walk.
Yeah, it's the bird and not the bird, the rabbit and the turtle.
Yeah.
There it is.
Horse and the hare.
I'm thinking too many birds. Yeah, right. But It's kind of a gradual process a little bit as well to kind of get things going. I have a client that I was kind of explaining to where this thing will kind of take time.
It's a commitment.
It is a commitment. That's why, depending on certain projects or certain long-lasting commitments that I have and where the attention is, sort of thing. So if someone wants to be like, hey, we just need a simple video, so kind of changing the conversation to that. Just a simple project. Yeah, I got a video, and then they're doing like a million revisions because one person in there didn't like the way that angle was on her hair and this, and I'm like, okay, I guarantee you barely anybody's going to like really dissect this video sort of thing, and if you have that much kind of an issue with that, maybe you shouldn't be on camera.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, that's an interesting point you bring up because the reality with, our starting to work together, I as you said, I kind of had a lot of knowledge on this industry, and I had a vision in my head as to how we'd come off on camera, how I would come off on camera and all of that. And I remember the first video or two that we did, it was, once again, we're still just feeling each other out. And I remember watching and just being like, I don't like how I look there. Oh, I don't like how that works. Oh, I wish this was a little different. Ooh, maybe we need another camera in there and this and that. And
Corey's like, we can't post this. I said, Corey, we're posting them. Just put it. We're going to put it out there. I don't care. Who cares? People aren't going to be looking at this forever. That's what it is. That's who we were.
And even at this point in time, I think that first video's got like 20 views. So it's like whatever, but it put content online.
Right.
It drove traffic through, Google's algorithm to, okay, this business has these videos that are linked to this website, that all of these things flow together, and so we're going to raise them up a little bit in the rankings, which for us was a really important part. SEO, this all plays into more than just people seeing a video online.
Because the whole conversation of quality and quantity, like it's like, oh, we need something that's quality, and that's going to take away from the quantity of it. But you can find quality in your quantity.
You really can, and at the same time, you can also build on that quality factor. You released a video just prior to us putting out the first podcast that showed the transformation of this space even. From basically just a little room with a little table in it that Chad and I were sitting at to, kind of a studio that we've put together here. And even that room with that little table wasn't here and set up on our first videos. We were standing in our showroom in front of a grill.
Yeah,
just do it. We were just doing it. We just started. We just got things done. We just made some content.
Just do it and do it and do it. That's on a previous podcast.
And and as we progressed on, we got better and better. The first few videos, you were using one single camera, handheld. Now we've got a camera on a slider. We've got three other cameras. There's four cameras in front of us right now. We've got lighting. We've got sound paneling. We've got, accent lighting. And we've just worked towards that. And as time went on, knowing that this was a long haul process, it wasn't just
Pablo
one and done.
Picasso's first piece of art was probably just a scribble,
probably
like every 3-year-old child.
Yeah.
Realistically, which side note, fun fact on that, did you know Pablo Picasso passed away in 1973?
No.
I had recently seen that too, and I just,
blew my mind. You grew up as I think our generation grew up like, oh, Picasso's this old thing from 1600s.
Dusty man.
No, he was alive, not long before we were.
That's
wild.
But even the conversation with that, it's like, done's better than perfect, and perfect will never be anything.
It doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Yeah, the thinking, it's that same skit on that just do it. The motivational speaker was talking about how many smart people he knows that are still doing the same thing. They're thinking about it. They're thinking about what they can do instead of just going for it. And I think that with the creative content, I think you just have to commit to a longer term thing. You have to be okay with everything not being the perfect post or the perfect content or every angle being perfect. And I think you just have to consistently put it out there. I mean, it's every piece that we've kind of talked about and we've seen such a growth, and we've seen a lot of people that we know, even simple things like just friends of ours are like, oh, I saw the podcast, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, are we going to get business from our friends? Probably not, not in the next 5-10 years, who knows? But it's still them knowing that we're here, that we're doing something, and then they tell their father, their uncle, their brother, their friend, oh yeah, you should call Fishman because they do XYZ. And then it's the broader, scope of, bringing it all together and that all connected.
Yeah, you're looking at 3 different companies, and they're all kind of in the outdoor kitchen construction field, and you have one that hasn't made a post since 2019, and you have one that's consistently posting, and their grid looks amazing. You see all the recent work. You can see that stories are active too, and then you can see that they're like, call us if you have any questions. Do not be a stranger. Just don't show up unannounced. I mean, that's
Right.
You have more, like, as a consumer, I have more trust into that.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And that's
I
the
mean,
thing we were kind of going off of in our last podcast in our last couple podcasts was the empathy, portion of this. And if I was standing in that person's shoes, who is the target audience, what am I looking for in a company? What kind of consistency, what kind of photos, am I trying to, see a photo of a patio that looks like mine? How many angles are we going to see from that? And then, they always do. They always call and they say, oh, I saw the house that was in Mirasol because we live in Mirasol, and that looks like the same model home of mine. Did you guys, which street was that on? Is that on San Remo or, and it's just like this.
And that's why we
piece.
purposely post on our website. We say the neighborhood that the house was in that we took photos of because people relate to that.
Identify,
Oh,
yeah.
that's where I live.
And it's a trust thing too. It's like, oh, they did work in my neighborhood. Okay, I trust them. They did that here. Whatever it is.
So even kind of going how we relate. I mean, we had such a mutual pool of people that we knew. It's like, oh, well, this guy Jake worked with this business, and also this guy Jake knew this person and actually helped us with this. So I felt like, I don't want to speak for you. Maybe like the guards kind of went down a little bit. It's like, all right, so let's hear him out a little bit more.
For sure. No, that was absolutely the case. That's the thing. If you're going around trying to find businesses to work with, you want to hear from people that this is who to go to. You want to see online that this is who is out there and this is who's active and doing good stuff. And you want all of those pieces of the puzzle. Just like last episode, we were talking a lot about how everyone is on their phones always for everything. And so, if you're not visible on that device to people, then you almost don't exist. The only other way to be found is by through word of mouth, and people speaking highly of your services. If you have the combination of the two, people speaking highly of you and also actual active live content consistently online, at that point in time, what is there not to trust?
Yeah, honestly, it's not like we Googled you. We didn't Google you. We actually, like you're saying, we found you through Soul Rebel and Pump House Coffee because you had posted and reshared or something. You're tagged in. I was like, oh, nothing negative.
And some other
I
friends.
saw it wasn't just one time. It was like, okay. And then I saw another post, and then I was like, what is this guy? Who is he? And then you could start piecing it all together. Oh, you're friends with him. Okay, I know you from that. And it's like this interconnective, thing that is how quickly you can get business or not. It's just that kind of simple. And
item. As important as that is kind of in the digital space too, working with media, I personally believe it's just as important as doing stuff in the real world, kind of going back to just, you don't want to be just seen as cool online as well. So the fact that I'm physically in the community too, as well as like a musician, just someone who's active with events and just whatnot as well. So it kind of, I don't want to just speak for other people, but from my eyes looking into something, I see that's like, all right, someone is just as active in the real world, because that's kind of where all this stuff is going to be produced.
It comes
as well.
back around, I think it's this circle of, touching people from different directions in all different spaces, and knowing that once again, and for you in particular too, and us, is we're local businesses. So we want to feel like we're here in the community and in local,
And some people don't like that, but I think that's just so insane. Like it's such a company culture that is slowly being tarnished and just taken away. And I love it. And even growing up, there's some people that I know that never spent $1 on advertising, still hasn't. But the clients that they work with are extremely high end and private, where they're like, we can't do anything. Like if you call us, why you're calling us. And I always thought that was just the coolest thing growing up. Yeah. So I try to have that little exclusivity factor as well. So there's certain things. Even the other day, I was in the middle of a shoot and some guy was looking over my camera stuff, and he was like, oh, a couple Sony's, nice. And he's like, oh, I got this too. I'm like, oh, sweet dude. And I'm just trying to do the work done as well, but also being like a personality and just being like conversational. And he's like looking up my stuff, and then he's just like, "Where's your price sheet?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "You don't have a price sheet on your website." I'm like, "I know."
Yeah.
It's not black and white.
Yeah. And then he's just like, "So how do you do it?" I'm like, how do I do what? Oh, yeah. I'm like, how do I do what? Like, do you have a project? We can talk about it. But that's kind of how it is. It's very catered to.
It's bespoke.
Yeah, it's very catered to the client. I mean, I have a general idea. I've been doing it for long enough and tripping and falling as my way to it. But no, that's just kind of the way I approach my business.
That's such a tricky thing, that question too. Like, where's your pricing? It's like, okay, like, who are you? Are you my competition? Are you going to try and undercut me? Like, who am I talking to right now? You're like just coming up to me saying, "Where's your pricing?" And
I don't sell shoes. You know, the shoe is $79.99.
Yeah.
That's not your business. That's not our business.
Yeah.
Anything in the custom field.
Or even going back to the hourly rate, because when you start off, you got to start with something and anything too as well. And that's something I'm fortunate enough now where I'm internationally published. My business has been was one of the finalists for the county for the best photo video content. And I'm kind of in the position now where I just can't do hourly because I'm like, this is my rate. Because if I do anything else, there's a potential where I can either lose time and lose focus. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of going back to earlier, just like misconceptions of businesses that reach out to you in terms of what they're expecting to pay, what they're expecting to how much time they needed to put into it. I think that's really important for people to understand. Like, you can either take your branding and social media and marketing strategies seriously, or you don't. And that's to each their own. To every business, that's your own thing. I personally feel that for any business out there that doesn't have that kind of like, I'm very bespoke, and if you're calling me, you know why you're calling me. But any business that wants themselves to be visible out there and for people to find them online, I think you really should be putting that focus and effort and money into this particular industry.
Yeah, we don't want to pay Jacob for anything.
I don't want money. I just want happiness. I mean, that's it. But even going back to what you said about just being kind of in the shadows, like very exclusive too. Those people still need content. Those people still need a little bit of like a log. I've done so much documentation work for different styles of business, and I've done so much content for certain businesses that haven't done anything with it. Right. And I've always wondered, I'm like, oh, you haven't really posted this? Like, yeah, we actually use this for our email list because of our patrons who do this. I'm like, oh, interesting, cool.
So they're using it, but you're not seeing it publicly. Yeah,
that's really interesting because I think that another thing that a lot of people don't even understand in how to utilize, somebody like yourself is content that isn't visible. And you wouldn't know this, but there's a ton of content that we've created with Jacob that none of you have ever seen. It's for internal use only. So we have videos that we've literally produced, training videos for in-house for our staff here, so that we can literally, if we bring in new employees, new staff members, we can just sit them down for a day and show them video content of the things we do and how we do them, so that they know right off the bat, they at least have a very entry-level understanding and knowledge of exactly what we're expecting of them. But then we also have videos that
thank you video for people that purchase something and explaining how to use it.
We have videos of explaining a number of different products that we sell regularly, how they function and the ways to maintain them and things like that. Stuff that it would be probably useful for most, but at the same time, for us, that was really just our own personal, like, we were going to keep this in-house. And as soon as we've completed a project for somebody, we're just going to send out those videos as a little extra added touch. Hey, thank you so much. We hope you love the project we've done for you. And here are some very, very helpful things that you can reference forever on how to use your products and how to maintain them and who to call for if there's issues and all of that.
And that's definitely a testament to how digital content and somebody in your position may not be coming in to just market and get you more business. There's so many usages to digital photography and videography. That can be used in any company. I mean, internally.
Even going to like your guys' new venture in the asphalt space as well, where kind of new. That's why I knew that having a really strong brand identity in the beginning was going to help just understand what this is too. So you guys didn't ask me to do it. I just did it because I saw that there was like a necessary need for it as well.
Right.
Working on different logo concepts.
Logo.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, then when I presented to you guys, I'm like, you guys can just completely throw this away if this doesn't even work, but I just want to show you. And if like this is something that you like, maybe I can tweak. And you're like, no, you hit the nail on the head, because we've had this long rapport of a foundation for so long.
The commitment for a long period of time. There's been a lot of back and forth rapport, and that's helped tremendously in terms of you understand what we're looking for and us understand how you're going to present it. And it's always been a good drive, back and forth for us.
And for those of you who haven't seen, the logo for the asphalt business, for Fishman Asphalt, is the same logo as for Fishman Outdoor. However, it's an F symbol. If you're not watching the video right now and you're just listening to us, but it's a blue F symbol. And so we just said, okay, let's just keep it the same branding and kind of keep that, because people are already aware that we've built a quality business and they know that logo, they know our name, and so let's keep that, but just change the colorway on it and you do a black or white version of it, and depending on the background.
So we did a white version. And we're like, all right, white, and then he sends it back over to us, and it's got
yellow striping, like what you'd see the like dash marks in the middle of a street, and it's just straight up the center of the F, and it was like, oh my God, so simple but just brilliant in terms of like
a little Nike swoosh.
Yeah, that's true.
It just makes so much sense. It keeps consistency with our brands and with our brand identity, but at the same time, it just makes so much sense in immediately recognizing what this industry is and what that logo is. And so, yeah, Jacob brought that to us, and immediately that's what we put it onto the website.
Shout out to my creative team. That idea was not me. When I saw that, my wife particularly was the one that did it. I was just like,
nice job.
That's genius. She's like, I just did a couple lines. I'm like, you don't understand. This is perfect.
Sort of that was massive. Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much to you, by the way. And so, no, and it's just stuff, once again, when you're working consistently with a marketing specialist, with a branding specialist, those are the things that you'd hope that they're looking out for on your behalf, and are helping walking you through and doing that with you. And you've throughout have definitely just jumped on in anytime where there's an opportunity like that to start helping us and working with us and throwing ideas out there. And I think that helps massively, the fact that you are so involved with us on a consistent, regular basis, that right away oh yeah, this is totally what they need to do, and this is totally how this should look. And so having that rapport and that consistency, once again, going back to consistency.
Word of the day.
It really is. With a branding specialist, with a marketing specialist, that it's so critical. If you want to keep up with this industry and keep up with the brand identity that you're trying to establish as a business, you need somebody there who sees it, who gets it, who understands you, understands your business, and understands the direction that you're trying to go. Because the reality is, a stagnant business that just keeps doing the same things, that's not going to last for terribly long. Sure, there's some companies that have been around for hundreds of years that just serve the same food that they've served forever in Italy or whatever, and somehow they figured it out.
But was it Kodak or Polaroid? Whoever went out of business.
Or Blockbuster, it's
can't rest
you
on your
can't
laurels.
rest on your laurels. So as a business, especially a smaller business, which is why I feel branding is even more important for smaller businesses than it is for big businesses that can truly afford it. Because as a smaller business, you're needing to stay alive, you're needing to keep growing and transitioning, and as you're doing that, you need that brand to keep flowing with you. And having a specialist like a Jacob is exactly how you're going to be able to keep up with that. Because if you're coming up with new ideas on how to run the business and make money and all that, how can you also be trying to brand and market and put out videos and all that?
Yeah, so. With that being said, Nothing Negative is in the middle of a rebrand right now, just working on different aesthetics, working on a merch line, working on just different original content for Nothing Negative. I have so many things scripted out in Notion.
A wig brand too, right?
A wig brand? Yeah, you want some of this? Like a whole hairline, whole hair products and everything.
Mustache, mousse.
But with exactly with what you said, it's there's still business that needs to be done during the day too. So it's getting a lot. So, but I know exactly what needs to be done too as well. So I mean, I've also taken so many pages out of your guys' book with just like developing systems, time management too, and just having like a realistic understanding of like today and what to get done in the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and having that broader picture too, because once again, you're not going to be at, point Z without going through all the other letters, and that's just what it is. So, but you have to always have the vision of the big thing that you're trying to get to, and try to make all the iterations to change it and be there in the long run for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any last big point that you would feel in terms of branding, marketing, major things that people need to be looking for in terms of whoever they were going to work with? Of course, you can't work with him anymore. He's not available. He's only with us. No, I'm kidding.
No, you definitely can reach out to Jacob,
Jacob's
and
awesome.
And we recommend it if you want to really have a very fun and creative and unique branding strategy, and somebody who's very hands-on. So definitely reach out to Jacob if you're serious about putting together creative content for your business.
I guess just to bring it all home, just have fun with it. Don't take it too seriously. Don't overthink of something. Really understand, even going back to the 3 content pillars, if you're looking at something like, I don't even know what I'm doing and why I'm doing this, kind of have a rhyme or reason for it as well. There's nothing wrong with simple. Simple can be key. I mean, my color palette right now for Nothing Negative is really just like black, white, and gray. I'm trying to keep it simple because I'm trying to use my clients to really elevate and add life and color into them. That's why I wanted to keep it simple. But yeah, I mean, just start. Just kind of like we said, just do it. I mean, being consistent. And then I have a quote. Should I read the quote?
Gotta finish.
And we like to end with quotes. You know that.
This is the most reading I'm going to do like all year. So here we go. Creativity is the power to connect the seemingly unconnected. William Plomer. I think that's his name.
Who's William Plomer?
I don't. I ChatGPT
I think it's
did this.
Plomer.
So Plomer. Creativity is the power to connect the seemingly unconnected. And those are the things I see and understand and value in my life is creativity and connection. And I try to put that into my business. I try to put that into my passion, which is music, because that's what I view life is all about, is just kind of the people around you and how you can develop a realistic connection through that.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Well, great way to finish it. Thank you very much for
thank you,
being a
Jacob,
guest.
for coming on today. A little tricky being on the other side of the camera.
I'll get back to my corner over there and start working.
but we love having you, and we look forward to all the more future content that we create together. We've been having a lot of fun with it thus far, and plan on continuing to do so for long into the future. So once again, thanks, Jacob. With Nothing Negative, give him a call if you need his help. And I promise you, if you're trying to do it yourself, you probably need his help.
Find him on social media.
Yeah, find him on social media for sure. He's out there. And beyond that, thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Brothers Contracting. If you have any questions or just want to reach out to us, feel free. Once again, don't come to our showroom unannounced because we won't be able to help you right then and there. But thanks again for tuning in. We look forward to more episodes in the future, and we hope you tune in for those as well. And we'll see you all again soon.
See ya.
Bye.
Do I need to hit some music on this?
Oh, yeah. And add the volume. Just spike that. Yeah. Should be no. It's one of the sliders.
Slide down.
You just start pressing every
Stuff. Just press it. Come on, Chad. You don't know how to use these things?
button and then the slider, like slider to the far left. Like that, like the thing that goes whoop.
That's what I'm doing.
Huh.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh well.
Well, we tried.